Hi, it's Dr. Noel Williams, April 8th, 2021, COVID update. So let's talk about the expected. Things are going well in most of the country. So, where are we having our little bump in cases? It's the Northeast. Why? Because mitigation strategies don't work long term. Mitigation strategies don't work. Mitigation means trying to block the viral transmission when it's an environmental virus. It doesn't work long term. Variety of reasons. The virus is more intelligent and motivated evolutionarily than we are to survive and prosper and infect. Two, the winds help. And three, long-term mitigation strategies fail. And so that's always been the case. It will always be the case. This entire approach is silly to still be mitigating, but it is what it is. So don't be surprised if the cases go up in the Northeast. They're going to continue to go up. Anywhere that's been really locked down, they're going to continue to go up because there's a corollary too to probably, you look at a state like Oklahoma where we weren't great at mitigating, but we did okay. But what were we good at? We got the vaccine out. We got the vaccine out. And since a lot of the doctors here were not like lemmings, there was at least a large group of us who treated, I mean, it wasn't a large group of us, but there was at least some of us who treated patients outpatient. And so, voila, Oklahoma is through the worst of it. We need to get rid of the mask mandate in Oklahoma City. Hopefully the city council will get on board with that. Anyone who's living in fear, which I have to tell you, stop. Don't make we're not a Nazi society, okay? Teaching kids at schools to narc on each other and people to report, that is not normal. That is a bad thing. And that's what's going on in these schools and a lot of places on the East and West Coast. We have to at least draw a line in the sand and say, no, let it go. Let it go. Let's get our vaccines. Let's take our vitamins and we're going to be fine. And let's talk about vaccines for a second. Okay, I'm going to give an alternative strategy on vaccines because I've spent enough time talking to people about vaccines who don't want to get the vaccine. So finally, I was talking to a couple people today, and they were very clearly against doing the vaccine. So I gave them a suggestion, and this may make the post get taken down. I said, fine, you don't want to get the COVID vaccine. I'm on board with that. I respect you. What could you do? Get your MMR, your measles, mumps, and rubella, and make sure your DTaP, your diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis vaccine. That way, if you get a scratch with a rusty nail or someone with measles, which there's tons of because more than there ever was, not that there's a ton, but there's a ton more than there ever was in the last 30 years because of all the people who didn't get vaccinated and all the people who are migrating into the country, whether legally or illegally. There's more measles and pertussis than ever. Get caught up on that. The science indicates approaching a 90 to 95% cross immunity from serious infection with COVID. So get those two. It's simple. No one in the federal government is ever going to tell you anything that's the truth, but that's the data. Go get your measles, mumps, and rubella, get your diphtheria, tetanus, so that way if someone coughs on you who has pertussis or someone coughs by you who has measles or something, you're protected from them. And if you happen to get a scratch from a rusty nail or something like that, you're not going to get lockjaw or tetanus. So get up to date on that. That's going to give you cross protection. That's what the data shows. So let's think alternatives. Let's educate people. Let's be honest. And so that's why I told two people today. And, this one will probably be taken down because, again, we're providing science. Likewise, my post that I tried to boost that showed that there was long-term immunity from the vaccine and getting infected wasn't boostable because I'm on probation, but not double secret. And that's from the NIH. So those are the big things to think about. I do want to give a shout out to a few things. One, Mike Hashimi, he's an investment counselor who sends me all this updated information on COVID, which is very helpful. Thanks, Mike. Big shout out to Klassen Tag Agency, which helps us periodically, Kim and I, and they're great people. And I'm like, I might as well say thank you to some of the people who help us. They're great. Went to the Mercy Clinic on 63rd today, and Dr. Mills and their team to get COVID testing for a trip. What nice folks, very organized, smooth sailing. Really, really impressive folks at the Mercy Urgent Care on 63rd and Grand area. Thank you very much. And then Ada, new Mexican restaurant, newer restaurant today, Yo Pablo over on Ollie and 67th. Absolutely fantastic, great street tacos. So again, new restaurant, let's support it and support all your restaurants if you can, because we want the ones left to stay in business. I mean, they're all desperate for customers. So be nice and get some Mexican food. So, so I'm trying to think what else other than, medical care is, I had a bunch of new patients today and I'm just flabbergasted by a lot of the medical care. So a few rules of thumb. If you're not getting the care you need, look somewhere else. If they're not paying attention to you, look somewhere else. If you think you know what's wrong with you and no one's hearing you, go somewhere else. Go to people who can care about you. That is my message. I mean, these things that people I'm seeing are not hard to diagnose, but it sure seems like it's getting more challenging in today's environment. And I don't know why, but if you got to self-advocate as a patient now. You have to. And if someone isn't paying attention, isn't taking you seriously, isn't listening, look at them and say, I don't think you're listening to me. This is my problem. And it's not about more tests. It's about listening to me and doing a physical exam. Because that each person I saw today, and there were 3 of them, I was flabbergasted that no one took a good history and literally no one ever touched them, which is all they needed to really get a diagnosis. It is not hard to get good medical care other than finding someone who'll listen and do a good physical exam. So I'll get off my pedestal and step down, but I'm just amazed at everything that happens. Kim, any questions tonight?
I did not have time to look.
Oh God, she's so lazy.
Yeah.
Oh God. Anyway, so not really much else to add. Take your vitamins. If you've been on zinc regularly, start cutting back a couple times a week. But remember, vitamin D and fish oil are always good for you. A little bit of zinc is always good for you. A multivitamin is always good for you. Melatonin's always fine. Elderberry for viral stuff, all the usual things. So short talk tonight. Take care and good night.